game between Daidoji Erik and Zarzuckett. I probably mispronounced that. It's Crane mirror match. I am, of course, the foremost leading expert on Crane, having built a teaching deck back in core with them and played that. So I'm bringing that to you. That said, while it's a Crane mirror match, it's actually two pretty radically different deck lists, so I want to go over that right quick before we get started. Let me just move Discord over here so that I can see that. So we've got Erik on a Seeker of Fire Dragon Splash. This seems like a pretty standard deck list to me, versus, although I don't know really with Crane yet, the Seeker of Fire seems a little odd. I thought Keeper of Air would be their more common role, but the Dragon Splash seems pretty normal. Fairly typical Dragon Splash for any clan. On the other hand, we've got Zarzuckett on a Keeper of Air list with a Scorpion Splash. And the most notable thing here is the Scorpion Splash includes Forged Edict rather than Guest of Honor as the restricted list card, which is a little bit of a surprise to me. I figured Guest of Honor was just the automatic Crane reserved list card or restricted list card. But, you know, again, I'm not necessarily fully up on Crane, so maybe I'm wrong. To me, just looking at the deck lists, the Dragon Splash seems better, but Keeper of Air seems better, so I think this one's going to actually be pretty interesting, but again, not necessarily an expert on it. All right, looks like the game is up, so let me see. All right. I forget that Jigoku moved to the new games being at the bottom or whatever. Okay, let's see. Seeker of Fire at Winter Court, that's probably good. Okay. It's probably a good reason to stick to it. Come on, Jigoku. Now let's do a refresh on it. Come on, Jigoku. So neither deck has any Children of the Empire cards conflict side, but they both have a fair amount Dynasty side. The Seeker of Fire deck's actually running a single Imperial Librarian, which is kind of interesting. I can't imagine it's good in this matchup, because both players are going to have a lot of honored characters. Let me just see why Jigoku is sitting on this instead of actually pulling up. Well, there it is. I entered the password and then I canceled, and then it's there. Okay. I may annoy one of the people who actually knows Jigoku about that later. So looks like Okay, so back to the deck list. Yeah, so I can't imagine the Imperial Librarian's actually good in this matchup because everybody having more glory in the Crane matchup just means everybody's bigger. And the Scorpion list does have Mark of Shames. There's a whole lot of dead attachment hate. These let goes can only target Mark of Shame, and like, okay, it gets rid of the -1 political, but not really worth it. The attachment hate on Scorpion side is a little bit better. You got Fantana's at least and formal invites, but he's got 5 pieces of it for that, 2 calling in favors and 3 Mia Mystics. Okay, so apparently we've just got some random person in this competitive match. Well, hopefully Jigoku decides to play nice here. Okay, come on now. Other highlights from Children of the Empire: both players are on 3 Toshimokos. That's, shocking. Eric's on 3 Kakita Dojos. Oh, here we go. So we've got I'm still getting used to the new Jigoku interface, but it looks like Eric's first player to start. I don't actually know if it shows me who picked that. I would be interested to see. Let me max this up. Okay, there we go. So both players mulligan reasonable amounts out of Dynasty 2 and 3. Nobody had to mull 4, and nobody had a 0. I'm not actually sure what you mulligan towards in this matchup. I have to imagine that the Keeper of Air deck is looking for its Mark of Shames and Soul Beyond Reproaches. So Eric's going to lead off on a Brash Samurai with a single fade on it. Seems reasonable. He's got one of his Kakita dojos. I believe his list had 3 and the other list had 1 dojo. And then Zarzukkett's list had 3 Paragon of Graces versus Eric's 2 as far as the new cards went. So both players bring out... Oh, no. Okay. I guess that makes sense. So Erik passes after buying the 1 character. So Zarzukkett's going to go ahead and buy a Whisperer. Both players bid 5, which is not surprising at all. Let's see. The Cautious Scout's, of course, immune to provinces, but Eric's own Seeker of Fire, so he does have meditations in his row. Could be interesting if Whisperer hits that. Erik passes his first conflict opportunity. Looks like we're getting a political void conflict here at the dojo, just forcing the samurai to defend. It is actually meditations, so that whisper is going away end of turn as well. But Erik's going to have to do something or lose this brash samurai end of turn. Brash samurai is not a duelist, which is not a trait that I have kept in mind in the past, so I may have to read cards to check that. In no defense, makes sense. This court games does not bring it to breaking because of the Kakita dojo, so he's going to need something more than that if he wants to break. I don't know if he cares about breaking. That could just be for other purposes. Yep, so Brash Samurai gets voided as well. I mean, if the Doji Whisperer was if that Court Games was to honor Doji Whisperer for Voice of Honor or something, it isn't really going to work against Brash Samurai, because presumably the first action whenever Brash Samurai gets in a conflict is going to be to honor itself. Looks like Erik's willing to just play defense, though. Military conflict left on Zarzuckett's side if he wants to take it. He probably needs something to do to make it worth it, because if he just doesn't attack, then the Brash Samurai just never gets a chance to honor itself. The favor will not go anywhere either way, unless if he attacks and the Brash defends, I guess, and he wins, he gets the favor, but he's going to need something to win with. Yeah. Okay, so he just passes on the conflict opportunity, which totally makes sense. There's not, unless something comes up here, which Erik's got Ancient Masters, so he could certainly steal the favor here. But nope, doesn't look like it. So it's just gonna go into turn 2, no favor. The board is gonna be very moderately in favor of Zarzuckett. He's gonna keep that Cautious Scout, but Erik's got a 4 fate lead. Both players flip palaces, which is interesting. We'll see if either player can mount an offense and break that, but it seems unlikely. So they're probably just going to cancel each other out. So we get a Paragon of Grace. That is actually an interesting card in this matchup, especially if it gets honored. Erik's just saving up a massive pile of fate. Both players have a ton coming into conflict phase. We'll see if either player gets particularly offensive here. This looks like another defensive turn from Erik, at least. I would expect to see 2 attacks out of Zarzuckett, because there's no military skill on the opposing side, so the Cautious Scout looks pretty good, and then you want that Paragon of Grace to do an attack. Yeah, especially now that it's honored, that absolutely signals that an attack is coming. Probably would have held off on that myself, unless you're really... He must be sitting on Voice of Honors. Military attack first. Obviously, Cautious Scout would have been immune to meditations anyway, but you might as well send it to see what something else is. Seeing that it's a shameful display is pretty good. No worries about Cloud in this matchup. Neither player has them. So, that Cautious Scout is staying on unless it gets assassinated. And then you're not afraid of shameful display anyway. Not a ton of military buffs in this list, so... he does have a bonsai though. Double resolves. Not sure how necessary that was. Yeah, but the dojo's not in play, so it's fairly obvious. Also, the dojo I don't think does blanket, does it? It just can't trigger its abilities. It doesn't blank. Doesn't blank text blocks like that because it is not a triggered ability. So we get a very large menacing Iron Warrior here, which again can make something not trigger its ability, but there's a bonsai back, so he may win this one on defense. Nope, there's that Voice of Honor, which had been pretty signaled, in fairness. So he's going to play the Fine Katana. I am assuming this is just to try and save the province. I don't know if he's going to load up 2 of them on here. Especially given that Calling in Favors is a card. He's thinking about something here. He may be considering going for the Calling in Favors play. There really aren't any better targets than the Fine Katanas. Like, there are formal invites and fans, and that's it. So he can be pretty liberal with those 2 Calling in Favors. May also have a Mark of Shame. That would be a 2-point. Yep, there it is, Mark of Shame. Okay, so that pushes this towards a break again. Way of the Crane re-honors, and then there's a pass. So it's going to be on Erik to decide if he's okay with letting this fire ring resolve, or if he wants to try and win on defense totally. He lets it go, and the Iron Warrior gets re-dishonored. But he saves the Shameful Display, which will probably not be attacked again, unless there is a opening with no defenders. Yeah, looks like Erik's going to just play it defensively. Given that his Shameful Display is known, it seems deeply unlikely that he's not losing a random card to this Paragonic race. His remaining provinces are going to be magistrates in the row are going to be Magistrate Station and I think Manicured Gardens, if I remember the list right. So either way, if you attack one of those, you're giving him at least one fate and potentially just opening up the Magistrate Station. I actually could see a world where you just attack Meditations on the Dow rather than flip one of those. You're definitely not attacking into Shameful Display. That would be actively crazy. Okay, he's going to go after one of the face downs. If you hit Manicured, this isn't that bad, and even if you hit Magistrate Station, like they don't have an honored character right now, and you're pressuring a break. Okay, it is Magistrate Station. There's going to be an all-out defense here. No? Okay. Maybe not an all-out defense. Callow Delegates probably should just stay home for the favor. It's just going to get bowed down by Crane Box in a political struggle. It would be it would be court games protection if you were going to try and honor your own Doji Whisperer, but he's dishonoring with the court games anyway. So the court game's back, not a surprise. I mean, this Paragon of Grace plus Earth Ring is going to hurt a lot if Erik can't stop it. Losing 2 random cards to discard effects is not going to be great. Well, so he for shames down the Paragon of Grace, chooses to bow rather than lose that honored status, which gets a fan. I mean, the fan is good and all, but I have to think that would be likely one of the first things Erik would get rid of, so probably not that good a hit. So Erik passes back. At this point, if things stand this way, Erik is going to take favor, assuming he doesn't attack with the Callow Delegate to no effect. Erik does still have a conflict remaining. Okay. Well, that's kind of exciting. So we get Famiki, brings the conflict up to a tie. Erik did have another fan. Can't imagine he was thrilled to do that. Oh, and there's the assassination. I believe Zarzuckett had 2 assassinations, so not terribly surprising that he had that, but that is kind of brutal because it goes all the way to breaking the Magistrate Station now. So both players spend out on conflict characters. Zarzuckett's still got one fate left. This political rival is now winning the conflict. It's good to see these, Scorpion drop bears still doing their thing. So that is how that's going to end up standing. So Erik's kind of got a choice here of poking for a fate and a scout, or just taking favor. Which he just takes the favor. Gonna have pretty big boards left over. The Callow delegate's just gonna re-honor the Iron Warrior, which makes sense. An honored political rival is not exactly the most interesting. And we're heading into turn 3 with 0 provinces broken, and in fact 0 conflicts declared by Erik. Pretty even on fate and hand size. If I had to call it, I'd say Erik is very slightly ahead, but it's pretty close. So heading into turn 3 here, I'm guessing we are going to see Erik declare an attack here. I mean, it's always possible he continues playing defense, but I would, just looking at these boards, depending on what gets bought, I would guess an attack on Military Water Ring from the Iron Warrior. Gets a giant Paragon of Grace, 3 fate on it. So we're going to see a lot more random discards here, probably. Keep attacking each other's hands. Probably only going to be 1 purchase on each side, so we'll see if the Doji Challenger, the second Paragon of Grace, or Toshimoku gets bought on Zarzuckett's side. It is going to be Daidoji Challenger with 3 fate on it, also not terribly surprising. But players continue to bid 5. Doubt we see that change anytime soon. Let's see if Erik decides to declare a conflict. As I said, I think my inclination would be attacking on Water Ring to try and bow down Fumiki, but I don't play Crane, I don't know. And Erik's been very patient so far. That said, 2 fate on a ring is going to be very tempting. Does look like a military attack. Different body than I had said. Nope, there we are. The back and forth on it. Okay, so he ends up declaring with the Paragon of Grace, but he also manages to hit the Magistrate Station, which is a bit rough. I mean, attacking with the Menacing Iron Warrior wouldn't have done much. The Menacing Iron Warrior was threatening to turn off either the Challenger or the Paragon of Grace on defense. But this isn't going to be great. Now, he can eject with the favorable grounds if he wants, or move somebody in. but he's going to need something in order to win this. And he's losing a random card, probably as the first action. Yep, loses an Ancient Master, which is a very good card in the matchup, so I say like I know the matchup, but just being able to snipe Favor, I assume, is good. So Eric's going to fire back, but his discard's not at random, so it's just going to get the worst card. Goblin Snake being the worst card is not the end of the world, I guess. I would have to say that probably means he's not holding a Calling in Favors, because I would think Goblin Snake would be better than that in this matchup. Or I could just be totally off base there, and he really wants to be able to snipe a Formal Invite. Calling in Favors on Formal Invite doesn't seem great, because you have to put on a 2-glory character. I mean, you can use it just as a discard for a lower one, but so he's willing to just defend Watering. I have to assume Erik is not passing and will either move someone in, move out, or do something to win this conflict. It'd probably be crazy to just let your Paragon of Grace bow to no effect when you have that favorable grounds. Okay, there's an admit defeat. That seems fine, I guess. It'd be better to get the break. I mean, obviously, he can just straighten the character now with Magistrate Station. And he doesn't, which it's not breaking, so that's fair. If there's a fine katana to force the issue. Calling in favors from Doji Challenger. I'm not betting against that Doji Challenger going all the way to Honored in a single action here in a second. Not that the Challenger is like the best here. Assuming that the Soul Beyond Reproach resolves on it before the attack, it can drag whoever in. But there is still the favorable grounds. Oh, no, there's not still the favorable grounds. So we are moving in on the attack of the Magistrate Station. Yeah, you don't have to do it now, but I would guess it would come before the attack so that the Challenger doesn't get turned at that point, so the Challenger wouldn't get turned off by the Menacing Iron Warrior. Now that it's moved in, it's changed a little bit. So we've got a Bonsai to try and save this province. Probably will save the province unless there is something else coming. But right now it is going to be a win on Erik's side, so most of both boards will get bowed down. Yep, and they're still beyond reproach before the attack. Less vital to do it when you're not looking at that Iron Warrior on the other side. I mean, I don't know that he's bringing anybody into the conflict anyway with this board state. He could risk Erik being out of conflict characters and try to take out that shameful display, but I'm guessing that this is going for the magistrate station. Yep. And going for the 2 fate. He also did play that assassination earlier, so he's down to 7 honor, but that's hardly the danger zone. Yeah, it seemed unlikely that Erik would be able to do anything about that. He might have had a Way of the Crane or something to straighten somebody first, but didn't even have that. Yeah, so the political void attack here at the magistrate station is kind of a natural counter to that. We'll see if Zarzuckett has something to stop this. If not, then his board's going to be down to just this challenger into turn, because that Paragon of Grace is going to go away. Erik's also looking pretty good for taking favor, unless another conflict's coming, another conflict character's coming. Yeah, the Soul Beyond Reproach there wasn't necessary because there wasn't anything standing on the other side. I was assuming at the time I originally commented that the Iron Warrior was going to be up. So attachments on each character. The Iron Warrior's got a Mark of Shame and a Katana. The Challenger's got a Katana that certainly wasn't dishonorably stolen from somebody. It was theirs all along, really. Yeah, so that attack just goes through. Erik's going to maintain favor and a better board. 1 broken province each. In both cases, it's the magistrate station. Yeah, I mean, it was 2 fate versus 1, but I kind of agree. You could have gotten that political rival off the board and kept your own. I think it was. I think it would have been correct to attack Void there. I think you're probably correct. Especially, it wouldn't have been giving 3 fate. It would have been giving 2. Zarzuckett's going to be first player this turn, so they could have attacked Air if Erik left it up. Well, there's our guest of honor on the side that has it. We've yet to see a Forged Edict. Political and Drag Him In could have worked, but it also would not have. He wouldn't have been winning the conflict at that point, right? Yeah, the challenger's 5. The political rival would be 6 on defense. Yeah, you say magistrate on your side, but you leave it up on their side. I think that's an arguable one. I mean, Zarzuckett's definitely got more ways to keep his characters honored, but you have to think that both people are going to have at least a character honored most of the time. Yeah, I think that just attacking their Void instead of Air was probably correct. So board is definitely no longer at parity. Erik gets a guest of honor with 3 fate on it. No favorable grounds, so it's probably only in 1 conflict this turn. Barring some sort of deeply strange shenanigans. So let go goes on to Erik's own katana. So that Palace Province is almost certainly Manicured Gardens, if I remember the deck lists right. And I have to think I do. Yeah, well, I mean, that's true. A noble sacrifice here is going to be kind of hard for Erik to avoid if Zarzuckett has it and has the right cards. He has already played 1 of his Mark of Shame, so 2 more left. You got to think that this attack is going at the Palace Province. If it's with the Challenger, I mean, obviously the Whisperer can just go at Meditations and whatever. I assure you Crane will win this matchup. I don't actually remember his... Yeah, equal or lower, so Challenger's getting turned off. This Fire Ring, when you've got 2 honored characters, kind of distinctly smells of Noble Sacrifice. There's a Steward of Law. You have to think that that means the For Shame is coming to bow, and there it is. This is actually threatening to break that Palace Province. That might be okay from Erik's point of view, because the last 2 are kind of obnoxious. Steward of Law back. I don't know that I disagree with that. I was kind of assuming he was trying to set up for a Noble Sack on Guest of Honor. That Goblin Sneak is interesting. The problem I have with this being a setup for Noble Sack on Guest of Honor is you would probably want to do it sooner rather than later, and like you're not going to blow up your Challenger. You get an attack with the Whisperer. So that Katana is pretty immune to calling in favors at the moment. I guess you could play it on the Challenger or the Whisperer. That seems bold. There is another assassination hanging out in Zarzuckett's list. And we are getting down on card count in deck, so it's entirely possible he's got that. He's willing to just pass on it. An honorable goblin snake. Didn't even honor the steward. But yeah, if your plan is steward a law to win that, then the fire ring to set up noble sack doesn't really do very much. Possible we just see, like, right now, Mark of Shame plus noble sack. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's the Mark of Shame. No, I kind of figured that was it. It just took a moment to get there. If Eric's got a Way of the Crane, the odds are very, very high that it's going to get canceled. There's Way of the Crane. I've got to assume this is going to eat an edict or a, well, okay, there's the edict. I was going to say an edict or a voice. So that is a pretty good sequence by itself for Zarzuckett. I'm not sure if that pulls him back into this one, but it at least helps. Attack into upholding is not the best. Although actually he is not breaking into military conflict. Yeah, that is true. I don't know why. I missed that it was military at first. Sorry about that. Which it obviously is because he left back the political rival. Zarzuckett doesn't have anything to force the break either. So this is going to be a 3-card swing of an attack. Have to assume Whisper is going to attack because otherwise it just gets coverted out. Loses his own political rival. Yeah, so watering to force the issue. Presumably this just gets defended, and then that's the end of it. I feel like this turn went about as well as it could have given the start of it for Zarzuckett, and yet still down 6 cards, probably a worse board state on totality. It's not as bad as it could have been. Plays in... Oh, yeah. Right, there's still a conflict left. Never mind, I take back what I just said. Sure. I mean, it's not the most efficient play, but it could have gone a lot worse because that guest of honor was probably going to take over the game. Also, you do get it is versus 8 fate on the other side because the sneak does steal in a fate pack. So, of course, the master gets bowed from the box, but it doesn't matter because of the favor. If he'd got, I mean, if he had managed to actually get the break on the garden in that conflict, I'd feel a lot better about it because then he'd be on favor this turn too. This Void Ring also hurts a lot. I'm told this is supposed to be a PG-13 stream, Joe, so I'm going to just not make any further comments to that. Well, this board sure looks like you want to buy a Toshimoku Moko on Zarzuckett's side. So Erik's going to have the first chance to attack with this giant challenger. There's also the problem as the board stands now, although it may very well not stay this way, that Moko gets turned off by the menacing Iron Warrior. Both players bid 5. Again, unsurprising. We've got 2 more turns before they run out of conflict decks. Erik's hand size advantage is probably even more of a problem for Zarzuckett than the board advantage, and the board advantage is real. Going straight at that Manicured Gardens, no fear of giving fate away. Good point. I didn't even notice the lack of Courtier on his side. That's probably the lack of Crane. I mean, not just. I mean, he's got for shames, I assume. I'm not looking at the list at the moment, but so the first action either needs to boost his skill or he is getting turned off. It did not boost his skill, so I assume he's getting turned off. Let's see. So we've got 1 steward, 1 rival. 1 steward and 1 rival on Zarzuckett's side. On Erik's, we've got just a single rival. He is out of Ancient Masters, though. Yeah, so Toshimoku gets turned off by the menacing Iron Warrior. Not surprising. Katana gets stolen. And The challenger gets moved in. Not terribly surprising. Defender's now winning, but defender's going to be bowed out. There is one Soul Beyond Reproach left in Zarzuckett's deck, and one Mark of Shame. We've seen 2 of each. That said, both players are at 8 honor. This might be a game where we actually go all the way through the decks, because they don't seem terribly interested in letting provinces break. Although, barring a rival, I'm guessing that one's getting broken here in a second. Yes, the 2 broken provinces are both magistrate stations. So that we don't have to worry about that particular straighten things. Yeah, Erik never actually got to use his. Zarzuckett's got used in an attempt to save itself and failed. Okay, that's going to be a good attack. He's going political water. One presumes not to bow down the Steward of Law, but rather to straighten probably the Challenger. Could straighten Toshimoku, actually. That duel seems favorable if he decides to get involved. I mean, if he can re-honor Toshimoku, then he's not losing the next conflict. Menacing Iron Warrior only lasts through that conflict, so that said, if Erik has some way to win this conflict on defense, number 1, I'll be impressed, and number 2, it's going to be quite bad. This does not actually pull him ahead because he flipped the favor to military at the end of last turn. Oh, there's that second assassination, though. Formal invite on the Challenger. It is protected because there are there's no calling in favors left. Erik moves in, tries to court games, gets a Voice of Honor because it would actually turn Voice of Honor off. That does kind of lead me to believe that there's not a ton of self-honor left in Zarzuckett's hand. Yeah, if he ends up beating the Void Ring on this turn, then that is just a disaster for him. Losing that Challenger and leaving the Paragon of Grace on board is not great. Wasn't totally sure what he was thinking about there, but he's straightening Toshimoko. Obviously, the Challenger has slightly better stats, but that dual text is going to be relevant here. It is a political conflict left on Erik's side, but the duel still works. Yep, there's the Void Ring. Looked for a second like he was thinking air, but Void just forces the defense. The duel might actually be interesting. 5 honor is starting to dip. Spirit of Law stays back rather than getting bowed to Crane Box. So yeah, the defense is definitely forced by that Void Ring. Getting to resolve the Void Ring might have been nice. He is up 2 rings to 0 right now, and Spirit of Law has no glory, so he actually is going to snipe favor, probably, unless I'm just missing something. Erik's out of Ancient Masters, so that's not a concern. This is closer than I thought it was going to be about a turn ago. I thought this game was decidedly in Erik's favor. Did he not defend? Wait a minute. Never mind. I take that back. This seems like a crazy not defense to me. But what do I know? I mean, so he voices. I think that's the last voice. I don't know what he thinks he's going to do with this Toshimoko that's better than not eating a Void Ring. Well, I mean, the last two were just played basically to cancel court games. So he discards a Noble Sacrifice willingly. So his last 3 cards must have something good in them. I mean, he's attacking Air Ring to get a Fate. I mean, even if this is like the last Soul Beyond Reproach, I don't think this was worth it. Like, even if you get a number one, a Soul Beyond Reproach, like, still doesn't get you to breaking against that Steward of Law without more. Yeah, I just don't understand that no defense. Maybe one of y'all can correct me. I mean, even if he had the firing, I mean, if he attacked fire, he was out of Fate. So he couldn't Noble Sack this turn. He didn't have an honored character going into next turn. Yeah, there was. I mean, there was a Steward of Law on the other side. Like, I just legitimately don't understand this line. So it's tied at 8-all with that 7 military Steward of Law and the military favor. If he manages to lose this conflict, he also doesn't get the favor, just to add insult to injury. And presumably he would lose the duel at that point. He is also down 2 for honor. I mean, he can get back 2 of it here if he wins. Okay, so I guess there is a circumstance where he can be advantaged on the duel. I'd have to say Erik is pretty convincingly ahead right now. I don't know if Crane ever does this. He could drop down to 1 bidding next turn and put real pressure here. Okay, so here's the duel. Now he is actually up by 1 on this duel, and it is for the favor. Suppose that's true. Yeah, the Honored Challenger is leaving play. 1 bidding would be more about just pressing your hand advantage, I think. You've got that Paragon of Grace sticking another turn. Okay. They both 2-bid, which is kind of interesting. So they both were... so no honor changes hands, and the favor is going to come over. I gotta say, I do think while the Scorpion and Dragon splashes are fun, I'm sure the Crab splash is also fun. So we're heading into turn 6 here with 1 province broken to 2 provinces broken. This is why I play Phoenix, where we just, bust people up soon. Gets the favor just in time for the turn where Yoshi shows up. I, have to imagine that's the purchase. On Erik's side, the flip is actually not very good. And Zarzuckett's got the first attack this turn. Of course, his board would be better if he still had an Honored Doji Challenger and Erik did not have a Paragon of Grace, but, So they both draw 3. It's both hedging against the other going to a 1-bid strat, I guess. Conflict decks are also getting small. And, losing 5 honor would hurt both of them at this point, so there's definitely a world where this game continues past a reshuffle. The Yoshi was good timing, I think. That is a card that I think can pull him back into this game. Going after meditations rather than the manicured gardens is interesting. He's had problems losing characters all game. Like, he's given up a couple of Void Rings that have been pretty bad. This meditations attack is also going to be kind of bad. Wrong. I suppose that's fair. Okay, it looks like he's moving. He may have realized it. I'm like, I don't understand what you're doing, but I don't want to comment because I don't know the matchup that well. But just the fundamentals of the game, attacking into meditations there could not possibly have been correct. This feels like an attack that will actually end with the garden finally broken. Steward of Law could hop in and there could be some, hot for shame action, but Steward of Law is hopping in. Spoiler alert, there might be some hot for shame action. So the gardens get used right away, and then the favor goes away. I mean, you got to do it, so you might as well do it first. Even though if your whole board gets bowed down, you might wish you had that political favor, but you're going to have to use the ability by the end of turn. We've seen one Forged Edict. I think we've seen all 3 voices. Censure is off, so I don't remember how many there were, but I don't care either. Okay, there's the political rival, so 1 for shame's enough to defend the conflict. I mean, Forged Edict isn't that bad. He can get one of those off just fine with political rival. Oh, right. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, I've played exactly 0 Forged Edicts in any decks ever. So, but the hot for shame action went the opposite way of what I was expecting. The political rival that's defending getting bowed. I have to assume this firing's going to honor Yoshi, even though Yoshi's, obviously going to be bowed out this turn. Okay, so there goes the Manicured Gardens. That's not bad, to be honest. Yeah, Yoshi's getting honored. Yeah, I'm a little surprised that went that well. That could be a turning point. Because the rest of this turn's not set up terribly for Zarzuckett. I mean, presumably he'll eat a Void Ring because that seems to be how this goes. Yeah, we're tied up on provinces. We are going to get to the interesting parts of the game where both players are kind of floating right around 5 honor and no cards in deck. He's apparently addicted to not taking them. In spite of what I just said, Erik looks to be attacking Earth, which is actually totally fine. Can still tax the hand pretty good here. It's not the worst shameful display in the world. Like, it just dishonors this Paragon of Grace. He had to know that that was the province he was going into. He did not want to break upholding authority. I mean, he's going to get to come back with the challenger in the next conflict, presumably. Like, there's just not enough fate on Zarzuckett's side to do much about it. There's no chance this Earth Ring resolves if Toshimoko gets in this, though. Yeah, I might have been tempted to let this one go, but then they're on box. I mean, yeah, I think I would have liked it seeing an attack the other attack back better on Void or even on Air. Probably not Air, just Void. Saving that rival for a turn would have been really good. I guess then you're risking the challengers just eating your box, but like this shameful display is really mediocre. He doesn't use it though, which I don't remember what. Does he have any other 1-drops besides Steward of Laws? Oh, he doesn't even have any fates. So. Oh no, there's the Steward of Laws. So he's going to attack Void. That's no, he's going to attack Air. Of course, he's attacking Air. Maybe he's just been playing against Ugina too much. I mean, that said, putting like the conflict decks are really low. That Yoshi's blank if he doesn't gain some honor, but I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine that this is getting a defense. Like the challenger's probably coming at that shameful display. A reshuffle, like if he can survive through a reshuffle is excellent for Zarzuckett. That gets him back access to all of his counters. Oh no, he's going to lose an honor and take the province. I mean, actually, he's going to be on box next turn. It's going to be with just Yoshi and Toshimoko, but he will be second player. Plus whatever bodies he buys next turn, he can just leave this challenger if he wants to. because I assume Erik is not attacking that upholding. There is a world, depending on Erik's hand, where he attacks upholding because he can break it but can't break Shameful, and he gets first attack next round. There is no world where Erik does not attack Void. I don't know. He gains 2 rather than taking 1. That's actually kind of an interesting decision. He's still only going to be at 5 because he's about to have an unopposed loss. Because I think that was his 3rd Steward of Law. Let me double check. There's one. No, maybe that's only his 2nd Steward of Law, so he may have another one left. Yeah, I mean, I guess he could have a Steward of Law plus a For Shame left in hand to do this. I think he's only played 2 For Shames. Digging through a discard pile of 30 cards without just like covering up the action's kind of difficult. Yeah, I mean, if he's got it left in the deck, I cannot remember if he's played 2 or 3. I guess we can check right quick while they're deciding on the attack. I actually think Erik might be considering attacking into upholding if he doesn't have a boost. Oh, Erik's going to play the Steward of Law. That's kind of interesting. Is he just poking upholding? Yes, he might just be taking. No, that's still not going to work, right? He's going to have 3 to. Unless he can break Shameful. I mean, I guess if a Bonsai does it. Right. No, he can edict because you can. Yoshi could pay for it, right? I do understand how this works. He didn't, but he may not have had it. I guess it's possible the last 2 are in those last 4 cards. Okay, yeah, there's the break. So he is going to take the favor and kill off this political rival. Both players will be on box next turn. This is going to be pretty interesting. Both players are at exactly 5 honor, so nobody wants to run out of conflict cards. That seems unlikely, but I mean, you know, it is possible. He didn't get the favor. I am actually really interested to see what bids are this turn. So Zarzuckett's definitely buying that Challenger, probably get the Fate on Toshimoku. Erik's own Yoshi flipped up, and he does have the first attack. This could be really interesting. I mean, I think both players have to bid 1. I mean, Erik's definitely bidding 1 because if he buys this Yoshi, which he didn't, he gets Challenger. Okay, I mean, so there's no chance Zarzuckett has any kind of offense this turn with these challengers. Yeah, the favorable grounds here is really big because he can avoid the situation where just Erik attacks with both challengers military, bows out his board, and then breaks political. I don't remember what the provinces were, and I don't really want to flip away from the game. I don't think either player had new provinces, though. I think they were all on older provinces. Because I was trying to make a note of the children cards that were in play, and I think they were both only on Dynasty side. I don't think there were any new provinces or conflict cards. For the record, in a tournament, this game ended about half an hour ago. Okay. The Entrenched is not going to do a ton, obviously, but Erik's got the initiative this turn just by virtue of being first player. I think Zarzukkett's just got to play to not lose this turn, because I don't think there's a world where he wins. So Erik actually draws 3, which is kind of interesting. He didn't buy the Yoshi, so that's not a problem. He could not have used them after that bid, but I assume he would have bid differently had that happened. So Erik seems to be on a play to win this turn, which is reasonable because next turn he'll be on the other side of the first player disadvantage, or the other player having first player for box attack. So knowing it's rally, and of course both players know what the other player has on their box at this point, and also at the start of the game they knew. That makes the military attack with Challenger honestly even better. Depending on his hand, he may just try to break it now, may hold off. Yeah, so both Challengers and the Steward of All military fire. Seems good. Making it political will make it will actually give Erik 2 more points because of the formal invite and the favor. So he may just leave it military. Yeah, this is a really awkward way. You probably defend. I think I like you defend with Toshimoko. Force the challengers in. Now Erik's shifting how he's attacking, which is interesting. I definitely like Toshimoko as your defender. And then if he moves both characters in, you move Yoshi back out. I think he's got to play to not lose. I do not think he can afford to play trying to win this turn. Okay, so he ends up sending both challengers in the Steward of All after kind of going back and forth on how many challengers to send. I think I like leave it military and send in Toshimoko as your defender. But he switches it. Switching, it's kind of interesting. Looks like he's going to send Yoshi in. It's a fire ring. The fire ring is not the end of the world here. The problem with slotting out one defender, though, is that covert on rival. Let's see. So let me count for shame. So we got 1. Oh, we might just have 1 for shame and discard. I could have sworn he used 2. I may just be blind though. No, there's the second one. Okay, so 2 for shames. 2 soul beyond. No, there's the third soul beyond reproach. Yeah, he's got 2 noble sacks in discard, so he should only have 1 noble sack left. He lost one of those to a discard earlier. And the other killed off a guest of honor. I think there's a mark of shame left. The problem is I remember the cards that got played, but not the ones that got discarded. So he's probably got to say, I'm not sure how he doesn't lose here with the political rival. He's got to have some good cards left in order to not lose, mostly. No, the problem is that political rival. So if he gets all moved in, he can't just move somebody out or else they just get coverted. I mean, you could attack Water to bow down the Whisper and hope he doesn't have boosts to get to 6, but all it takes is a single ornate fan, which Erik does have left. Well, sure, but how do you not get broken if you move them inbound? Oh, right. I'm dumb. You're right. Never mind. I forget new cards. Yeah. I caught it. Sorry. That is absolutely correct. So yeah, there's no chance that that duel gets lost. Now, interestingly enough, if he can just send the rival and has the fan to boost it, that doesn't work because the duel can't happen. Now, only one of the challengers got used. The other challenger stayed out, which is the challenger can pull in the rival if he went political here. And I think that is correct to do. You definitely lose the conflict, but you'd rather bow down the rival than the Whisperer. Seems very unlikely he gets to 12 military skill in this conflict. That's true. He could unbow somebody and then just defend. I mean, you even could just unbow Toshimoku and defend, even if they just send the rival. I mean, you've got 5 skill. They might win the conflict, but they don't win they don't break. That said, he's going to eat a Voider and lose that Yoshi, and that Yoshi is the enormous threat for breaking next turn. Yeah, I don't quite follow the not using the second challenger there. Erik's for shame count is because, and I'm assuming he's running 3 here. I'm not looking at the list at the moment. Erik does in fact have 2 for shames left, so assuming he has 3 in the list, which I'm going to assume he has 3 in the list. Let me double check the fan count for that matter, because if he doesn't have a fan left, then no, I was wrong. He is out of fans, so that makes breaking a lot harder there. He's going to need a character. I don't know why I thought he'd only played 2 fans. He's only got 2 formal invites as well, so there's no chance of having 2 of those. I mean, there's no point in not defending with the Doji Whisperer because he can just pull the Doji Whisperer in if you don't defend anyway. There is a sword left because he's running 3 of each. Oh no, never mind. I'm wrong. It's actually sitting here on the other side of the table. It's on the other side of the table. Yep. Yeah, he's almost certainly got to have a let go left. It is possible the last 2 cards in his deck are the last 2 let goes, but it seems unlikely. He does not. Big on not using these challengers in this crane mirror. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Erik's down to 2 honor. He cannot, like, that duel. Even if you let go the katana, that's 6-3. Like, if you win the duel, I think you lose by dishonor well before you end up. Yeah. How many bonsais have been played? There have been a lot of bonsais. No, bonsais are out. The rival's immune to the duel, but I don't know that he can break with just the rival. That may have been the reason for not pulling in the Whisperer, too. So we're going to have a bathroom break here for a moment, which is fair enough. This game's been going for a while. I believe they both had 1 and they've both been played. I'm not, again, I guess I'll take a moment since we are in. They have both played Fumiki. So Keeper Erik, the Edict deck actually only runs 2 Steward of the Wells, so we won't be seeing a third. Both of them only have 1 Fumiki, and they have both played them. We could actually, I guess while they're doing washroom stuff, we can try and track down exactly the cards in list, or in hand, particularly for Zarzuckett. So let's see. So Erik does have 3 for shame, so 2 of those are left. He's got a Censure, which is live right now. Probably has it. has a noble sacrifice, which seems ambitious to get off. I guess there's a world where if you move in Toshimoko, you double for shame, and then, or no, that was there. Were there 2 for shames left? There were 2 for shames left, right? Yeah, so you could double for shame Toshimoko and then throw them off a bridge. All right, so they're back. No time for me to do the tracking of the entire deck. I usually try and do that if I'm actually playing in an open deck list game, but it's a little hard to do 8 turns in. The rival stays home. Huh. All right, somebody help me. Why is the rival staying home? I mean, even if he doesn't have the cards he needs, I don't quite follow the logic here. Oh, right. Okay. Zarzuckett's got a attack left. That's totally fair. I forgot that part of things. Yeah, yeah. I'm like, in this last conflict? Nope. I'm just making it out to be the last conflict in my head. So Toshimoko gets moved in. Gotta imagine that's the end of this particular conflict. Because there's definitely no world where the Whisperer is winning this duel. I guess he could move the Challenger in just in order to maybe try and tempt to steal a bid. Yeah, but if Yoshi could get dragged in here. Oh, right. The formal invite could pull him in on the attack. Well, there's a formal invite on Yoshi, so formal invite in a more direct way can move Yoshi in. Although it is going to make the opening attack next turn slightly harder. Oh wow, he gets a Keeper of Air Fate. So mark that off on your bingo cards. Yeah, he's got the favor, and he actually also is going to be able to one bid and then use the Yoshi ability. There's one. Yes, we have seen both of them. That's not a very good flip on Zarzuckett's side for this attack, but he may not need it to be. Erik's got a guest of honor that can come in to play. There's going to be a reshuffle, but it's probably not going to be until the conflict. And the rival loses some value at that point because you don't get the covert for the attack. I mean, I guess he could just... No, I don't think he can avoid that. I mean, he could 2-bid. But if he 3-bids and Erik is probably priced into 1-bidding. And because Zarzuckett has Yoshi, he in turn is probably priced into 1-bidding as well. could do 2 and then survive Yoshi, but that seems kind of reckless. This guest of honor could be pretty good. All right, so this is going to be a pretty enormous attack. Let's just get this draw phase up out of here. The guest of honor makes it really interesting because it probably means Erik can just have free reign during one attack. We know that there is a mark of shame left that'll be after he uses Yoshi. There's 100% a mark of shame that will be in Zarzuckett's hand, and it will be free, right? Because or is Yoshi? No, Yoshi's just events, so it'll still cost 1. There is a noble sack left, I believe, but once you get into the conflict, it won't be free. So if either the Mark of Shame or the Noble Sack is the last conflict card, then he can't do it for the conflict. Yeah, pre-conflict, if those are cards he has in hand, then he can get it off, and I don't think Erik can stop it. Yep, there's the Mark of Shame. Erik, if he's got a Way of the Crane left, could probably try and do that. But I suspect that it's going to get edicted. Yep, there's Way of the Crane with the Forged Edict. Yep, so no Guest of Honor for this battle. Both Guest of Honors get killed. It's hardly a way to treat a guest. So he can attack air, and just if he wins the conflict, the game is over. Because Erik is now on 1 honor. So Erik is going to have to actually win the conflict. So it's going to be, he's going to be on, he can defend with everything except Brash and be on 16 skill. Oh, he's attacking military. Yeah, that's much worse. Yeah, I think this is probably going to do it. I mean, Erik could certainly still have enough to disrupt this a little bit, but I can't imagine him not losing this conflict. I mean, he's got 8 skill he can send in. But if he doesn't send in the Whisperer as well, he doesn't have a Courtier. Sorry, that's the pronunciation I learned. Give me a break. Okay, so the Brash Samurai goes in by itself to defend. Um, the good news is he's not going to get Dishonored out right now because he's actually going to break the province. I believe Erik is just playing cards so that he can show off all the dead cards he had in hand. And that's the game. Not going to lie, I thought Erik had that one for a while there. But, you know, I still disagree with some of the calls Zarzuckett made on ring choices particularly, but he pulled it out in the end. Good game to both players. Good luck to Zarzuckett in the top 4. I also kind of liked Erik's deck list a little better in the mirror between. I mean, I thought the Keeper of Air stuff was terrible for him, but I didn't care for the Scorpion Splash stuff or the Forged Edict over Gust of Honor, but it worked out. In any case, thank you all for watching. I'm going to disconnect this. This will be up on YouTube in like 15 minutes if anybody missed the start of the game. I do recommend watching it. It was a really interesting game from the beginning. All right, thank y'all.